So let's start with the proposal we are putting forward that is at the heart of these 2 days. Farming for Future, as President Gattoni said. 10 concrete actions, and we're going to hear from Lorella Rossi, who is responsible for the technical department of the Italian Biogas Consortium. Let's welcome her with a big hand. Good morning, Lorella. So here's my presentation, my slides. Great. Let me just fix the other microphone. Good morning everyone. It is a great honor for me to be the first presenter of this year's edition of Biogas Italy. As Piero said, we start from the great experience of biogas done right, promoted by our farmers over the past 10 years. And this experience has taught us about the overwhelming strength given by having a biogas plant in a farm. It is something that facilitates conversion, the change of pace, the adoption of technology and of practices that were already available, but people were actually thinking of using them again. Well, this in-depth assessment started during the lockdown period. People heard a lot talking about the impact of COVID-19, the impact of emissions. So we all challenge ourselves as well regarding greenhouse gas emissions. Well, we're not responsible for a very high percentage of greenhouse gas emissions. We're talking about 9% of greenhouse gas emissions between production and energy use. But in parallel, we are highly responsible when it comes to ammonia emissions. That, of course, has an impact on the quality of the air we're breathing. So based on all these assessments, we have realized that we can act on both. Everything that allows us and will allow us to cut down greenhouse gas emissions will also help us reduce ammonia emissions. That's how the Farming for Future project was born. So we developed a system out of our vision, and we are going to touch upon every aspect of animal husbandry, of livestock and farming activity. So the use of renewables in farming, the dissemination of precision farming, so agriculture 4.0 or animal husbandry 4.0. And then there are some key actions we're going to elaborate on later. For example, the use of anaerobic digestion, optimized use of digestate, development of innovative processing. We pay attention to fertility of the soil and agroforestry, because that's another option for carbon capture and sequestration. And then action 9 and 10 that are the most challenging, the boldest, that create a connection between farming, producing biogas and capturing CO2, biomethane, but also renewable CO2 that are produced out of this process. So production of renewable CO2 that we can make available to the industry so that they could keep enhancing it. But what's the heart of our vision? What's the gist of our vision? What is making us understand that this is not only our vision, so livestock effluents through that are enhanced through anaerobic digestion. So this is from pickup to the field. We've got the best tool available in the world. So our soil, the biggest reservoir of carbon on our planet. So by having double cropping, we intensify photosynthesis, which doesn't mean to exploit the soil, but quite the contrary, to protect it. So it is not true that having double crops means exploiting the soil too much. We're actually protecting it because we increase photosynthesis. I won't go into the technical details, but I think you know what I mean. So the heart of our project is to move from chemical fertilization to organic fertilization. We've got digestate available, which is an excellent instrument to fertilize that brings nutrients and organic matter, which is stable. It stays in the soil. So it is true that we harvest the second crop, but we bring back digestate to the soil, and we have to push in this direction. We truly have to be aware of the technical means that we have available, which is renewable. And then when we have double cropping, we've got many producers here attending, everything becomes more complicated a little. So we must find solutions to be timely, to be fast, by optimizing everything we do. So we set aside tillage and we use advanced systems to treat the soil. Another important point, farming for future, is bringing some important results we're going to see in a minute, but we must not forget that to get to those results, we must think of our production potential of biogas and biomethane. By 2030, we will be able to produce 6.5 billion cubic meters of biomethane. But what does it mean? Being renewable is not enough. This energy source must be sustainable according to the criteria that have been set out in Europe. We can produce renewable biomethane, which is also sustainable. By producing it, we save at least 65% of greenhouse gas emissions, or at least 70% if we use this biomethane for uses other than transport. So how can we guarantee such sustainability? This is thanks to a balanced diet, because we use crops, especially second crops, but in suitable quantities. We use livestock effluents, we use byproducts, and we use also suitable plants with storage that for the first few days must be covered so that biogas is recovered. And this is a very important requirement. Based on the estimates that we have made, by taking the 10 actions combined with the potential I've described, farming is put in a position of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 30%, more or less, and to have a positive impact thanks to saved emissions linked to the use of biomethane instead of fossil fuel. So a 6% reduction on total emissions in Italy of greenhouse gases. And this is the most important effect. I will try to speed up a little because I don't want to talk at length. Well, we started talking about this when the Farm to Fork strategy told us to reduce fertilizers, to reduce pesticides, to think about organic farming. So all our producers, all of us have actually wondered, are we able to produce as much, or should we change our way to do farming? Well, the answer, of course, is, well, let's just change something in the way we farm. Well, the vision that is being brought forward with the Fit for 55 strategy has reassured us because we were on the right path. And we're going to elaborate on this today because amongst the keywords that you can read in some supporting documents, you can see some of them up here. So increase in biomethane, so biofuel for maritime use or for aviation, increase in absorption, natural carbon, sustainability, etc. Our mentor has always been Ratan Ral, a Nobel Prize laureate. Well, the final message he gave us is that we have to produce more using fewer resources. And given the European context that is being promoted, well, we will have to prove with a system of certification regarding the ability to capture carbon that we're doing this. So in Europe, we have been working to understand how to define a certification system of the so-called carbon farming. So it's a complicated way, but it certainly is encouraging us to do well. So in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, we see that our goals are pretty consistent. Because biomethane is mentioned, we know that it includes the possibility of convert or enlarge existing plants. I won't elaborate on this. But machinery can be purchased, and this is one of the options, to change farming practices. So advanced systems to distribute digestate and also consortia can be created to use and exploit our digestate, because we have to make people understand that we can do without urea in many occasions. So I will conclude by saying that the climate emergency, COVID-19, etc., are launching a very clear message. It's high time that we take action. And I will conclude with these words. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Lorena.